What's up, guys? So I want to talk about fasting today and about kind of how to get into it, because I know a lot of you are interested in fasting. You've learned what a great tool it is, and that's really what it is a tool to use for kind of controlling your calorie intake, controlling your weight, using it for autophagy benefits or whatever it is. But I think a lot of awareness has been coming out over the past several years about how beneficial fasting can be for all these different reasons. And it's something that I have used a lot over my weight loss journey the last several years, and something that I've benefited greatly from. And I obviously talk about it here on the internet and talk about, like, you know, those benefits and what it's done for me in my life, and helped me shed 100 pounds. Have been part of the reason why, because it's not just one thing that I've used that's done it, and fasting isn't the all-encompassing end-all be-all. But I've tried just about every different kind of fasting you can think and imagine. I've done alternate day fasting. I've done the 16 and 8 fasting window. I've done the warrior kind of 4-hour diet, which is pretty good. And I'm currently doing OMAD right now, 1 meal a day, with an hour-long fasting window. And depending on what kind of day I'm having and stuff like that, sometimes I'll utilize that whole hour. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes just that one meal, and that'll do it. But whatever you decide, you know, and you can try different ones. And I actually recommend kind of being flexible and sticking to one over the course of time. And when you kind of get used to it, you can kind of try something else and see if it works. Sometimes your body will get used to doing something and kind of need you to hit that reset button, and that's totally fine. So it's good to familiarize yourself with all of them as you're making your decision, and maybe start out with like an easier kind of one than one of the other ones that might, you know, be considered more extreme. Like a lot of people, and I definitely did this, start out with like the 16 and 8, or, you know, it's kind of like 2MAD. I used it as like just 2MAD, so I needed like a lunch and then a dinner just in that, you know, 8-hour window. One thing I've tried to cut out is snacking, but a lot of people will continuously eat through that 8-hour window. But I've noticed that it's harder for me to control my calories, because I am such a big eater, and I kind of deal with like that self-control, that addictive personality type stuff. Once I kind of break the seal, it's hard to stop, right? If I have such a big, long window, and I have found that I can easily overeat on a 16 and 8. But that's a good place to start for a lot of people. It's certainly where I started, and I saw some benefit there, especially once I realized, okay, I need to kind of control a little more. And that's probably what you want to do. I don't recommend for a lot of you guys just diving right in to an extreme version of a fasting window. Like going straight from like you're down bad, you're at your worst, you're still in the point where you're decided, okay, I need to do something. I am definitely overeating. I'm eating like 5,000 calories a day, and I need to lose weight. What do I do? Okay, I'm hearing about the OMAD diet. I'm gonna go do OMAD. Or not OMAD diet, but OMAD, like fasting. I'm going to go do OMAD. You are probably going to crash and burn. You are probably not going to make it. If you decide to just going from eating like somebody on my 600-pound life to going full-on OMAD, that is not going to work in your favor. You can get to that point if you want to do it, but eating 5,000 calories today and then jumping straight into OMAD tomorrow, there's no way in hell, unless you are a very special gritty person, that's going to work out for you. I know this from experience, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it cannot be done. You know what I mean? If you can, I'd love to hear about it. Like, that's a hell of a story. But for the most part, from people I've seen, it's just not going to work out. It's just way too big of a leap, you know. But what you can do is build toward it. And I don't even really recommend going straight into a 16 and 8 if you can't. You know what I mean? If you wake up and the first thing you do is eat, and you're eating all day, and then the last thing you do before you go to bed is eat, you're going to have a hard time getting into any fasting window without doing it in a controlled, easy to measure kind of manner. So what do you do? Like, for me, I was able to get right into the 16 and 8. I have gone through many periods of my life where I didn't eat breakfast. I skipped breakfast a lot when I was a kid. I pissed my parents off. I have just never been, and then, you know, they'd always give me that whole, it's the most important meal of the day crap, which I think is, you know, it's bull. But, and then in my military career, there were a lot of times I skipped breakfast, whether it was out of necessity, I just kind of had no time, duty calls kind of thing, or just my own choice. So I did a lot of fasting in my life where I just wouldn't eat till lunchtime anyway. Now I would end up usually crashing out around 9:30, 10 o'clock and getting a snack or something that was never anything good. You know, it'd be some junk food shit or whatever, but I would definitely do that. You know what I mean? But I would skip breakfast and not go about it smartly, but it is something that I knew I could do. So I gave myself a hard, you know, what was my window? I can't, an 8-hour window that I gave myself. Was it 10? Was it 10 to 6 or 12 to 8? I think I went like 11 to 7 or 10 to 6, something like that, which works out pretty good for me. So I think I gave myself at first like a 10 to 6, and it ended up really being like 11 to 6. I would end up actually just eating my first meal at 11 o'clock. So it ended up really just being like a 7-hour window. And once I broke that seal, then it was kind of like I would just eat. And I was kind of doing the carnivore diet concurrently with that and figuring that out at the same time. And, but I would continuously eat through that time often, you know. And then I got to a point where like I'd hit stalls and whatever. Okay, I'm not losing any weight. Obviously, I'm snacking too much, eating too big of meals, whatever it is. I'd start cutting things back, but I'd also like slowly start shrinking my window. When I wanted to get to an OMAD point, I tried just going straight into OMAD, and before I knew how the hunger hormones worked, because they're really what makes you hungry. You know, it's kind of a timing thing. When you're used to eating, your body will tell you to eat. And you're not starving or anything like that. Like, it's not a physiological, like you're depriving yourself. It's just your body's used to eating. Hey, where's my food? Where's my food? Where's my food? You know, if you got a dog that's used to eating the same, I know my dogs eat the same time every day. They know when it's time. They're ready to eat. When your body just kind of knows, and it tells you, hey, I'm used to eating right now. It's a hormone thing. And you can reset that. But it takes a few weeks. And I didn't know that at the time, and I'd be hit these serious hunger pangs, and it's like, well, my body's obviously telling me that I need to eat. So I eat. It's dumb. You know, your body's not telling you what it needs to eat, it's telling you it wants to eat. So I realized I kind of figured it out myself, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is just kind of naturally shrinking your eating window over time, which I think is a phenomenal strategy. Now, a lot of the big problem with this is a lot of you guys are in a big ass hurry to lose this weight. Once you make your mind up, you know, especially with the society that we live in now, there's this instant gratification. Boom, boom, boom. I need to see results. I need to see them now. I want the weight gone now. I've decided I want to lose weight. I've decided I need to eat healthy. I'm going to suffer through eating healthy and restricting my calories and making better choices and fasting and doing all this shit. Well, I'd better I had better see results now, and that's not the way it works. It took you a long time. I'm going to do a whole video on this coming soon. It took you a long time to put that weight on. It's going to take time to take that weight off. So you might as well take your time and learn what you're doing and be patient and ease your way into things. You know, if you're the type of person that is not going to adjust well, and some of you are built different, I get it. Some of you are gritty individuals who I have made my mind up, I'm going to do OMAD and I'm going to do carnivore and I'm never eating a carb again, and you're cutting it all out of your life, and boom, that's it. You make up your mind, and the next day, that's the way it is. And that's good for you. You know what I mean? I have a little bit of that in me, maybe not as cut and dry and easy as that. Like I'm not perfect. I didn't feel like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I didn't make mistakes and have my failures and my moments of weakness along the way. I did. But once I do commit my mind to doing that, I am kind of able to do it. Not saying it's easy. It's tough. But there are some of you that there's just no way it's going to work. If you just go all in, 100%, put your face in the fan and just grit your teeth and do it, you're going to end up crashing and burning. You're going to end up probably failing at it at first. So what do you do? What's the best thing to do? What I recommend is giving yourself a period of time every week that you're going to shrink your eating window. I think an hour a day is reasonable for a lot of people. Some of you probably maybe not even able to do that. Maybe you need to do 30 minutes a day from when you normally wake up and eat. You know what I mean? This is specifically for fasting. Like if you want to work your way to an OMAD way of eating, it's going to take you some time to get there, but the easiest way to do it is just to naturally, organically shrink your eating window a little bit each day. And when I say an hour, that doesn't mean like, okay, I normally wake up, my alarm goes off at 6 and I'm starving and I just got to eat. So I'm eating at 6 when I wake up, or let's say I'm eating at 6:30. And then I finish eating at 9 o'clock. I eat my last thing at 9, or let's go 6:30 to 9:30. That's my first meal's at 6:30, my last meal's at 9:30. What you would want to do is shave that hour off, and it doesn't have to be in one huge sitting. Like you don't have to go, okay, my first meal is going to, instead of 6:30, be 7:30. My last meal will be at 9:30. No, what you just do is take a half hour off at the beginning and take a half hour off at the end. So instead of eating from 6:30 till 9:30, I'm going to eat from 7 till 9. I mean, that's a 14-hour fasting window. You know what I mean? Or feeding window. So 10-hour fast, 14-hour feed. You know, and you do that for like a week. Even if you got to do, like, if you're just not a very strong, will-powered person, just do 15 at each end and do a half hour. Let's go, whatever you decide, you know, the shorter amount of time that you shave off, now the longer this process of getting adjusted to fasting and starting to reap the weight loss benefits is going to take, but you're on your way. You know what I mean? You got nothing but time. Trust me, the weight's not going to come off fast as it is. Understand that this is a process and you got a lot to learn and you got a lot of work to do ahead of you. So you might as well start understanding how long it's going to take now. So just do that. Just shave off an hour. Shave off a half hour at the beginning of the day. If your first meal usually comes at 6:30, make it come at 7. You eat 7 to 9 for a week and see how you do. That should be sustainable for a lot of you. And then the next week or 2 weeks, however long you need to give yourself to get used to this, I think a week, if you're just doing a half hour at the end of each day, at the beginning and end of each day, a week could probably be fine for a lot of people, but some people might have to do 2 weeks. Give yourself another half hour at the beginning and at the end of each day. You know, now you're going, okay, I'm going to start eating at 7:30 and I'm going to stop eating at 8:30. And you do that for the determined period of time that you think you can deal with that. And then the same thing, you know, okay, now I'm going to go 8:30 or, you know what I mean? As it goes, you shave that half hour, and then you'll get to a point where it's like, all right, it's like I've shaved it down to where it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and that's when we usually eat dinner. Now you can start doing just a half hour at the beginning of the day, or maybe you can go a full hour at the beginning of the day until you work your way to that OMAD part. Because you're not going to, you know, I recommend if you're eating food at 9:30 at night, definitely shave back a ways, because that's just too late to be eating. I don't like, me personally, I cannot stand going to bed on a full stomach anymore. I used to have that late night snack kind of thing, and I realized how bad that was for my sleep and stuff. I like to go to bed pretty well fasted already and eat kind of early. One, that allows me to break my fast a little earlier. Like, I would hate to wake up at, you know, I wake up at like 4 a.m. and then to push my eating till 7 o'clock at night if I'm on OMAD would be not optimal. I'm eating dinner pretty early. I'm a 4:30, 5 o'clock dinner guy. If at all possible. Sometimes it has to be a little later or whatever. But I don't like going to bed after having eaten, you know, within a couple hours of me going to sleep. You know, if it's 9 o'clock, I don't like to have eaten past 6:30 or even 6 o'clock, like at the latest. I want it to be a good 3 hours or 2.5, 3 hours before I go to bed at the minimum of me not eating and being kind of fasted. Just let my digestive system settle down, you know, wind down for the evening. But that's the best strategy that I've seen. So if you're working your way to a 16 and 8 fasting window where you're eating 8 hours and you're fasting for 16, just shrink that window down until you get there, and then hang out there for a while. Hang out at that 16 and 8. Even if your ultimate goal is to go to OMAD, you know, sit there at 16 and 8 for a while and just show yourself that you can do it, you know, and cut the snacks out in the middle to where you're just eating like 2 MAD. Then you're basically doing 2 MAD. I know a 16 and 8 window allows you to have snacks in the middle, so instead of calling it 16 and 8, call it 2 MAD, and you eat lunch and you eat dinner, and that's it. And see how your weight loss goes there. And see if you even want to shrink your window down any beyond that, or maybe you shrink it down to that warrior diet 4 and 20, you know, where you're just eating 4 hours out of the day and you're fasting for 20. A lot of people have success with that. I did it for a little bit, and I figured I might as well just go all in on just being OMAD at this point. Another strategy, another fasting method that a lot of people use is alternate day fasting, the ADF. Same thing, you know, that's basically where you're fasting for the entire day. This one's pretty hardcore for a lot of people. You're fasting the entire day, and then the next day it's kind of a free-for-all, you know what I mean, within reason. Hopefully you're being a reasonable person, getting, you know, making good choices where you're actually getting nutrition and stuff. It's not your feasting day is full of donuts and french fries and chocolate cake and junk. You're actually eating, you know, eggs and steak and chicken and, you know what I mean, whatever you need to be eating. Or you're a carnivore like I am. But a lot of people love the ADF. It's pretty popular. I liked it a lot when I did it. I just like to eat meals with my family every day, and there's a lot of days, like, you know, every other day I'm just not eating with them, and they're kind of which, you know, if that's your boundary, that's fine, you know what I mean. Do what makes you happy and what works for you, damn what everybody else says. That's the way it should be. I enjoy eating with my family. That's why OMAD works for me. So I decided that was the best method for me, but I had great success with ADF. I loved it. But it's another one. It's hardcore to just wake up and not eat one day. It's a total shock to your system if you've just been eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day every day of your adult life, and then suddenly I'm just not going to eat every other day. Probably not going to work out. You're probably going to need to ease your way into it. maybe try to do the same strategy just every other day until you get to the point where you are just not eating every other day. And it'll take you time, but that one, the ADF, will give you great results, great success. So I hope this has helped. I hope I didn't ramble on too long for you guys. I think I made my point clear. Don't just expect, for a lot of you, I know some of you can. I'm not trying to crap on you or insult you and be like, no, you definitely need to ease into it. If you feel like you can jump right into the fire and start fasting, or start a new diet methodology, even not easing your way into like trying a carnivore diet and just cutting carbs out cold turkey, that's another thing that, I'll do that in another video in the future. If you can do that, by all means, do your best. If you're a person who needs to ease into it, by all means, take your time, work your way into it. It's much more beneficial for you to ease into it slowly and delay your progress just a little bit, and then ensure that it's successful, than to just try to go all in, crash and burn, go back to your old habits, or maybe even make them worse, and things just get worse for you. So keep that stuff in mind. Please go down, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit me up if you guys need any help, questions or whatnot. I'd love to coach any of you. Just reach out to me through a message. We can work out the logistics, and keep chugging along. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Later.